Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant, gazing at the vast emptiness of space through the main view screen. The patrol mission near Neptune had been quiet for weeks. Too quiet, perhaps. Lisa took a sip of her coffee and tried to ignore the feeling that something was about to change. "Captain, I'm picking up an unusual energy reading," said Communications Officer Greg Wells, his fingers moving quickly across his console. "It's massive, and it's not matching any known signatures in our database." Lisa put down her coffee cup. "Location: just beyond Neptune's orbit, Captain. Whatever it is, it's big." First Lieutenant Ben Howard looked up from his station. "Asteroid, maybe?" Lisa shook her head. "Not moving like one." She straightened her uniform. "Yellow alert. Let's approach with caution." The crew moved with practiced efficiency as the USS Defiant changed course. Lisa had served with these men and women for 3 years. They were the best Earth had to offer: scientists, explorers, and if necessary, defenders. "Object coming into visual range," announced Ben. The image on the view screen shifted and a collective gasp filled the bridge. What appeared was not an asteroid or any natural space phenomenon. It was a ship, enormous, alien, and unlike anything humanity had ever built. Its surface gleamed with a metallic purple sheen, and strange symbols glowed along its hull. "My God," whispered Lisa. "First contact." The training kicked in immediately. Earth had prepared for this moment for decades. Lisa activated the ship-wide communications system. "Attention all crew. This is not a drill. We have encountered what appears to be an alien vessel. First contact protocols are now in effect. All sections report readiness." "Captain," said Greg, his voice tight with tension, "they're scanning us. Our systems are being accessed somehow." Lisa nodded. This was expected. Any civilization advanced enough for interstellar travel would likely possess technology far beyond Earth's. "Let them look. Transmit our first contact greeting package on all frequencies." The greeting package was humanity's carefully crafted introduction: mathematical sequences proving intelligence, simple language primers, peaceful imagery, and basic information about Earth's biology and culture. It had been designed by Earth's best linguists, mathematicians, and diplomats to present humanity as peaceful, intelligent, and worthy of respect. Minutes passed in tense silence. The crew barely breathed as they waited for a response. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Greg reported. I think it's a response. The computer is attempting to translate." The view screen flickered and an image appeared. The being looking back at them was clearly not human. It had grayish-blue skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and what appeared to be breathing gills along its neck. When it spoke, the ship's computer translated with a slight delay. "I am Supreme Commander Grazatul of the Zorlak Imperium. Your species is unknown to us. Identify yourselves and your purpose." Lisa stepped forward. "I am Captain Lisa Morgan of the United Earth ship Defiant. We are representatives of humanity from the planet Earth. We greet you in peace and with hopes of friendship between our peoples." The alien commander studied her for a moment. "Your technology is primitive, your ship is small. Do you represent the full military capacity of your kind?" Lisa hesitated. The question felt wrong somehow. "We are primarily an exploration vessel, but we represent Earth and all humanity. Our mission is peaceful." "Peaceful exploration." "Yes, many species claim this." The commander seemed to consult something off-screen. "Our scans indicate your planet is rich in biological diversity and rare mineral elements. These are valuable to the Imperium." Lisa felt her stomach tighten. "Earth would be interested in establishing fair trade relations." "Trade is inefficient," the alien interrupted. "The Zorlak Imperium offers you an opportunity. Submit to client species status and a portion of your population will be permitted to continue under our guidance. Resistance would be inadvisable." The bridge fell silent. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Lisa kept her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Commander Grazatul, perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. Humanity is not seeking a master. We are an independent species, willing to engage as equals in diplomatic relations. We have much to learn from each other. Equality is a biological fallacy, Graztool stated flatly. Species advance by dominating or being dominated. Your kind has potential as a workforce but limited value beyond that. You have 20 of your Earth days to prepare your leaders for surrender negotiations. This is generous by Imperium standards. Before Lisa could respond, the communication ended. The alien ship remained motionless in space. Captain, Ben said quietly, what do we do now? Lisa took a deep breath. We warn Earth. Send everything we have on the Zorlak ship, scans, recordings, all of it. Priority 1 transmission to Earth Command. Greg worked frantically at his console. Sending now, Captain. Good, now let's... The ship rocked violently, throwing several crew members to the floor. Red alert klaxons blared throughout the Defiant. We're under attack, shouted Ben. No warning, no... Another blast hit them, harder this time. Sparks flew from consoles around the bridge. Shields failing, reported the tactical officer. They're using some kind of energy weapon our shields can't block. Lisa grabbed the command chair as the ship shuddered again. Evasive maneuvers. Return. Fire! The Defiant's weapons seemed to have no effect on the alien vessel. The few missiles that reached it simply disappeared against some kind of energy field. Engine power dropping, Ben reported grimly. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 5. Lisa knew they couldn't win this fight. Did our message get through to Earth? Greg checked his console. Yes, Captain, confirmation received. Then we've done our job. Lisa hit the ship-wide comm again. All hands abandon ship. Repeat, all hands to escape pods. As the crew rushed to evacuate, Lisa downloaded all scan data on the Zorlak ship to a portable drive. This information might be Earth's only hope. The journey to the escape pod was chaos, corridors filled with smoke, wounded crew members helping each other, the constant shaking of the dying ship. Lisa made sure others boarded pods first, directing traffic like the captain she was. When she finally entered the last pod with the remaining bridge crew, another hit rocked the Defiant. The escape pod launched automatically, tumbling away from the ship. Through the small viewport, Lisa watched her ship break apart under the alien assault. Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them away. There would be time for grief later. Now, she had to survive and get back to Earth. As their tiny pod drifted away, Lisa saw the massive alien ship turn and move toward Mars, where Earth's first off-world colony housed over 10,000 people. They're not waiting 20 days, she whispered. The war for Earth's survival had begun, and humanity was already losing. 2 weeks had passed since the destruction of the USS Defiant. Earth was no longer the peaceful blue planet it once was. Smoke rose from cities where Zorlak scout ships had struck key military installations. Communications networks were spotty, at best, completely down at worst. The Zorlak mothership hung in orbit like a giant purple scar against the sky, visible even during daylight hours in some parts of the world. Dr. Samantha Wright hadn't slept properly in days. Her lab at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, had become both her workplace and her home. Empty coffee cups littered her desk as she peered into a microscope. Dr. Wright? A voice called from the doorway. They found Captain Morgan. Sam looked up, brushing a strand of blonde hair from her face. She's alive? Where? Her escape pod was recovered in the Pacific. She's being transported here now. Sam felt a surge of hope. Captain Morgan was the only person who had directly encountered the Zorlak and survived. More importantly, according to the transmission the Defiant had managed to send before its destruction, Morgan had collected biological samples from the alien ship. When does she arrive? 2 hours. Colonel Daniels wants you in the briefing. Sam nodded and turned back to her work. The microscope showed cells from various Earth pathogens. If humans couldn't match the Zorlak in technology, perhaps biology would offer some advantage. Meanwhile, at the lunar colony, Chief Engineer Alan Carter watched through reinforced windows as the last evacuation shuttle departed for Earth. He had volunteered to stay behind with a skeleton crew of 12. Their job was to maintain the colony's powerful radio telescope, now humanity's best tool for tracking Zorlak movements. "They're moving again," called his assistant, Olivia Reed, from the monitoring station. "3 ships breaking off from the main fleet, heading toward. Looks like they're making a run for our European listening posts." Alan sighed and rubbed his tired eyes. "Send the warning through the emergency channel. Let's hope someone down there is listening." The lunar colony had somehow escaped the Zorlak's initial attack, perhaps because it appeared dormant from the outside. The team had cut power to all non-essential systems and operated on minimal life support to avoid detection. "How much longer? Can we keep this up?" Olivia asked quietly. Alan checked the oxygen recycling system's readings. "Maybe 2 more weeks if we're careful. After that..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. They both knew. Back on Earth, Colonel Jeff Daniels stood in the GDI's underground command center, staring at a world map covered with red markers indicating Zorlak activity. At 45, Jeff had seen combat in many of Earth's conflicts, but nothing had prepared him for an enemy that could strike anywhere at will from orbit. "Sir," his aide approached with a tablet, "the Russians and Chinese have agreed to the joint operation plan. Their special forces will coordinate with ours." Jeff nodded. "And the Europeans?" "They're in too. The British are already modifying their submarines to carry the sonic prototypes, assuming Dr. Wright's theories pan out. For the first time in human history, every nation was united against a common threat. Old enemies had become allies overnight. It wouldn't matter in the end if Dr. Wright's research didn't yield results soon." The doors to the command center slid open, and a stretcher was wheeled in. Captain Lisa Morgan looked pale and thin, but very much alive. Her right arm was bandaged, and a nasty scar ran across her forehead. Jeff moved quickly to her side. "Captain, good to have you back." Lisa tried to sit up. "No time for recovery, Colonel. I have information and I have samples." Sam entered just in time to hear this. "You actually managed to get biological material from the aliens?" Lisa nodded weakly. "During our scan exchange, I had our science officer capture atmospheric samples from their ship. Their air contained traces of biological material, skin cells maybe, and I downloaded their entire scan of our ship, which includes detailed analysis of human biology. Their computers are advanced, but not impossible to access with our systems." Sam took the storage drive Lisa offered, her hands trembling slightly with excitement. "This could change everything." "There's more," Lisa continued. "Their communication equipment emits patterns of sounds we can't hear, but our instruments detected them. Based on how they reacted when we sent our response message on all frequencies, I think certain sound patterns might disrupt their ability to function." Jeff leaned forward. "You're saying they have a weakness to specific sounds?" "It's just a theory," Lisa admitted. "But when we transmitted our response across all frequencies, including some very high ones, the alien commander seemed uncomfortable. The transmission got cut short and then they attacked." Sam's mind was already racing with possibilities. "I need to get to work on those samples right away. If we can identify specific vulnerabilities in their biology..." Jeff turned to his aide. "Get Dr. Wright everything she needs, and arrange transport for our remaining sonic weapons prototypes to the testing facility." In Houston, Flight Director Kevin Barnes was overseeing a different kind of operation. Deep beneath the old NASA complex, a secret launch facility had been constructed years earlier as part of a doomsday contingency plan. Now that plan was being put into action. "Fuel levels optimal," reported a technician. "Life support systems green across the board." Kevin nodded. "Begin passenger boarding sequence." On the launch pad above, disguised as an ordinary warehouse, the starship Noah's Ark waited. It wasn't large, it could only carry about 500 people, but it represented humanity's insurance policy. The passengers were a carefully selected mix of scientists, military personnel, engineers, doctors, and others, with skills essential for rebuilding human civilization. Their destination, a hidden facility on Mars that had been constructed in secret over the past decade, Sir, one of the coordinators approached Kevin. We have a problem. The primary passenger list included Dr. Wright and Colonel Daniels, but they've both refused evacuation. They say they're needed on Earth. Kevin wasn't surprised. Note their decision in the log. Proceed with the alternates. As the countdown continued, Kevin looked at the photo of his family on his desk. His wife and children were not on the passenger list. They, like billions of others, would remain on Earth to face whatever came. He had accepted the assignment knowing this might be the cost. Across the planet, billions of ordinary people prepared for the coming storm in their own ways. Some fled to rural areas, while others joined hastily organized defense militias. Churches and temples were filled with those seeking spiritual comfort. Families gathered close, sharing what might be their final days together. The Zorlak ultimatum would expire in just 6 more days. After that, no one knew what would happen, but everyone understood humanity stood on the brink of its greatest challenge. Their only hopes lay with the scattered groups of specialists working frantically to find any weakness in their seemingly invincible enemy. In her lab, Sam looked up from her microscope with wide eyes. "Oh my God," she whispered. "I think I found something." The streets of Chicago lay in ruins. Broken glass crunched under Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez's boots as she led her small team through what was once a busy shopping district. 6 weeks had passed since the Zorlak invasion began. The aliens had not destroyed Earth as many had feared. Instead, they methodically established control zones in major cities, setting up processing centers where humans were examined and classified for labor assignments. Maria and her team of 5 resistance fighters moved silently from shadow to shadow. Each carried a backpack containing Dr. Wright's new sonic disruptor prototype. These were the weapons humanity had pinned its hopes on. 2 patrol units ahead, whispered Joe Kelly, Maria's second-in-command, peering through a thermal scope. Standard pattern, 4 Zorlak soldiers each, Maria nodded. The alien foot soldiers were formidable, nearly 7 feet tall, protected by advanced armor, and carrying energy weapons that could cut through concrete. Conventional bullets barely scratched their armor. That's why today's mission was so important. "Remember, the plan," Maria said quietly. "We need to test these devices in actual combat conditions. Dr. Wright needs data on their effectiveness." The team spread out, taking positions behind overturned cars and piles of rubble. Maria checked her sonic disruptor one more time. The device was about the size of a large flashlight, with a dish-shaped emitter at one end. According to Dr. Wright, it would project sound at frequencies that should disrupt Zorlak neural functions without harming humans. "In position," came the whispered confirmation through her earpiece. "On my mark," Maria replied. 3, 2, 1, now." The team activated, their disruptors simultaneously. The devices emitted no sound that human ears could detect, but their effect on the Zorlak patrol was immediate and dramatic. The alien soldiers stumbled, their coordinated movements suddenly chaotic. 2 dropped to their knees, clawing at the breathing apparatus on their faces. Another fired its weapon wildly into the air. "It's working!" Joe exclaimed. Maria was already moving. "Phase 2, go!" The team converged on the disoriented aliens. Up close, Maria could see the Zorlak soldiers' 4 eyes blinking rapidly behind their face shields. Their normally gray-blue skin had taken on a purplish tint. The sonic disruption was clearly causing them physical distress. The resistance fighters quickly attached explosive charges to the aliens' armor joints. They retreated to safe positions before detonating the charges. The precisely placed explosives breached the armor at its weakest points. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had found a way to effectively combat the Zorlak. "Command, this is Phantom Leader," Maria reported into her secure communicator. "Operation Soundwave successful. I repeat, successful. The disruptors work." Back at GDI headquarters, Colonel Jeff Daniels received Maria's report with cautious optimism. Beside him, Dr. Samantha Wright was already analyzing the incoming data from the Chicago operation. "It's even more effective than our simulations predicted," Sam said, her voice tight with excitement. The frequency disruption is causing severe disorientation of their neural pathways. It won't kill them, but it makes them vulnerable. Jeff turned to his communications officer. Send the specs to all resistance cells worldwide, Priority Alpha, and get me Captain Morgan. Lisa Morgan had spent the past month coordinating with resistance groups across North America. Her experience with the Zorlak made her uniquely qualified to help develop counter-strategies. She entered the command center minutes later, her injured arm now healed enough that she only needed a light brace. Chicago was a success, Jeff told her. The sonic weapons worked. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. That's the first good news we've had in weeks, but the Zorlak will adapt. They're nothing if not efficient. Which is why we need to strike now, before they develop countermeasures, Jeff replied. He activated the main display screen, showing a map of Earth with red zones indicating Zorlak-controlled territories. We're coordinating a global offensive using the sonic disruptors, but we need a bigger victory than just taking out foot patrols. What are you suggesting? Lisa asked. We've identified what appears to be a Zorlak command center in what used to be downtown Denver. If we could capture it, or at least access their systems, Sam interrupted, we might be able to gather intelligence on their overall strategy and capabilities. On the lunar colony, the situation had grown desperate. Alan Carter's team was down to just 6 people. Oxygen was running low and power failures were becoming more frequent. But their observation post had provided invaluable information on Zorlak fleet movements. Another transport ship incoming, Olivia reported, her voice weak from the thin air. That's the 5th one this week. Alan studied the trajectory data. They're bringing in more troops, but why? They already control most major population centers. Maybe they're not as confident as they seem, Olivia suggested. Alan considered this. The radio communications they'd been monitoring had changed in tone over the past week. The Zorlak commanders sounded concerned. Something was happening that had disrupted their carefully planned occupation. We need to get this information to Earth, Alan said. Prepare a tight beam transmission to the Australian Outback receiver. Include all our observations from the past 48 hours. The transmission might reveal their location to the Zorlak, but at this point the information was too valuable to keep hidden. In the ruined music store in Chicago, Maria's team was preparing to evacuate when she noticed something strange. The store's old speaker system, damaged during the earlier fighting, was emitting a low hum. The Zorlak bodies they had been examining were showing a reaction to the sound. Joe, check this out, she called. Joe approached and observed the subtle vibration of the alien corpses. What is it? I'm not sure, but Maria walked behind the counter and found the store's sound system controls. She adjusted the bass setting, increasing it gradually. As the low-frequency sound intensified, the alien bodies reacted more strongly. It's not just the specific frequency from our disruptors, Maria realized. It's certain sound patterns. Get me Dr. Wright on the comm now. When Sam received Maria's findings, she immediately began running new simulations. If she's right, we might be able to use existing sound systems, emergency broadcast networks, concert venues, stadium speakers, to create disruption zones on a much larger scale. Jeff saw the potential immediately. We could clear entire cities without needing thousands of the handheld disruptors. Lisa nodded. And the Zorlak wouldn't expect it. Their intelligence on Earth focused on our military capabilities, not our civilian infrastructure. For the first time since the invasion began, a real plan was taking shape. Humanity had found a weakness in their seemingly invincible enemy. Word of the Chicago success spread rapidly through resistance networks worldwide. The effect on morale was electric. People who had resigned themselves to defeat began to hope again. In cities across the globe, resistance cells began targeting Zorlak patrols using improvised sonic devices. Music, once a source of entertainment, became a weapon. The occupiers, confused by this unexpected form of attack, began to withdraw from some areas to regroup and reassess. On the Zorlak command ship, Supreme Commander Graztul received reports of the mounting losses with increasing concern. This was unprecedented in the Imperium's long history of conquest. No species had ever found an effective counter to Zorlak technology so quickly. Increase the occupation forces in all major zones, Graztul ordered, and begin research on protective measures against these sonic attacks. The war for Earth had entered a new phase. Humanity had won its first significant victory, but the Zorlak still held overwhelming advantages in technology and numbers. The coming weeks would determine whether the Chicago success was a turning point or merely a temporary setback for the invaders. As Maria Rodriguez looked out over the Chicago skyline, now dominated by alien structures, she felt something she hadn't experienced since the invasion began: hope. 6 months into the war, Earth had become a battlefield of contrasts. Zorlak control centers towered over ruined cities, their purple metal structures gleaming against the backdrop of human destruction. Yet between these alien strongholds, resistance thrived. The invaders controlled approximately 40% of Earth's surface, focusing on resource-rich regions, but they found it increasingly difficult to maintain that control. Paul Johnson had never expected to become a resistance leader. Before the invasion, he had been a high school science teacher in a small town in Montana. Now he commanded a cell of 300 fighters operating from a hidden base in the Rocky Mountains. The Zorlak are changing their helmets, Paul said, examining a captured piece of alien equipment. He sat in what had once been a tourist lodge, now converted into a command center. Maps covered the walls, and makeshift communications equipment filled the tables. "They're trying to block our sonic weapons," agreed his second-in-command, Rita Wilson, a former park ranger. "This new model has extra shielding around their auditory organs." Paul nodded. The aliens were adapting, as expected. For the past 2 months, resistance forces had used sonic disruption with great success, but the Zorlak were quick learners. Each new batch of their troops came better equipped to counter human tactics. "We need something new," Paul said, turning to the communications array he had built from salvaged parts. As a physics teacher with a background in radio engineering, Paul had developed a hobby of studying quantum communications. That hobby had become unexpectedly valuable. Through careful observation, Paul had noticed something interesting about Zorlak communications. Their ships and troops maintained constant contact using what appeared to be a quantum entanglement system, theoretically impossible to intercept or jam using conventional methods. But Paul had developed a theory. The quantum link might be perfect, he told Rita, but the processing system that interprets the signals isn't. Everything needs an interface. Paul had been experimenting with creating interference in the narrow band where quantum signals were converted to information the Zorlak could use. His early tests suggested it might be possible to disrupt their entire communication network. Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Morgan was returning from a dangerous mission. After establishing contact with the Ardari, another species previously conquered by the Zorlak, she had convinced them to provide technical assistance. Her small fleet of retrofitted human and Ardari vessels approached Earth cautiously, avoiding Zorlak patrols. "We'll reach the Australian landing zone in 6 hours," reported her pilot, Ryan Baker. Lisa nodded, studying the data packet she had received from Colonel Daniels. The global resistance was planning a coordinated assault on Zorlak strongholds worldwide. The timing would need to be perfect. "Send word to Daniels," she ordered. "Tell him we have the weapons upgrades from the Ardari, and we're ready to coordinate with his ground offensive." The Ardari had provided crucial modifications to human ships, allowing them to partially penetrate Zorlak shields. They had also shared information about Zorlak command structures and tactical weaknesses. As former servants of the Imperium, they knew their oppressors well. In GDI headquarters, Colonel Jeff Daniels received Lisa's message with relief. The ground offensive was already in motion. Resistance cells worldwide were moving into position. Dr. Wright's team had developed improved sonic weapons that could bypass the new Zorlak helmets, but distribution was still limited. "We need a force multiplier," Jeff told his command staff. "Something that will affect all Zorlak forces simultaneously." Sam looked up from her workstation. "What about Paul Johnson's communication disruption theory? If we could knock out their command and control systems, even temporarily." Jeff considered this. "It's unproven technology, a big risk." This whole war is a risk, Sam countered, and Johnson's background in quantum physics is solid. If anyone can make it work, he can. After a moment, Jeff nodded. Make the call. Tell Johnson he has 48 hours to make his system operational. The global offensive begins then, with or without his quantum disruptor. On the last Earth defense station still in operation, Flight Director Kevin Barnes monitored the approaching Zorlak flagship. The massive vessel had suddenly changed course, moving away from its usual orbit. Intelligence suggested Supreme Commander Gruztul was personally commanding the ship, preparing for a major operation to crush the growing human resistance. They've detected Morgan's fleet, Kevin realized. The Zorlak flagship was on an intercept course with the returning ships. If they were destroyed, the upgraded weapons and Ardari technology would be lost. Kevin gathered his crew of 30, the last remnants of Earth's Space Command. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a choice to make. We can maintain our hidden position and continue gathering intelligence, or we can reveal ourselves and engage the Zorlak flagship to protect Captain Morgan's incoming fleet. The crew exchanged glances. They all knew what engaging meant, almost certain death. Senior Officer Amy White spoke first. I think I speak for everyone when I say there's no choice at all, sir. We fight. Kevin nodded, feeling a strange mix of pride and sorrow. Prepare all remaining weapon systems. Plot an intercept course with the Zorlak flagship. We'll give Captain Morgan the time she needs to reach Earth. In the Rocky Mountains, Paul Johnson worked frantically to complete his quantum disruption system. The device was crude by necessity, built from a combination of salvaged Zorlak technology and human electronics. It looked like a mess of wires and circuit boards connected to a modified satellite dish, but its appearance belied its sophisticated function. The theory is solid, he explained to Rita as they made final adjustments. The Zorlak quantum network operates on predictable frequency patterns. If we can generate the right interference signal and broadcast it globally. How do we broadcast globally? Rita asked. Our transmitters don't have that kind of range. Paul smiled. We don't need range. We just need to hit their main communication nodes. Their own network will carry the disruption signal for us, like a virus spreading through a computer system. The plan required precise timing. Resistance cells worldwide would need to attack communication nodes simultaneously, uploading the disruption signal directly into the Zorlak network. If it worked, the aliens would lose coordination for perhaps 20 minutes. Enough time for the global offensive to gain a significant advantage. In orbit, Kevin Barnes's defense station emerged from its hidden position behind a cluster of defunct satellites. The sudden appearance of the human vessel caught the Zorlak flagship by surprise. Though small in comparison, the defense station had been designed as a last resort weapon platform. It carried Earth's most powerful conventional weapons. All batteries. Fire, Kevin ordered. The station's missiles and energy weapons struck the Zorlak flagship, momentarily disrupting its shields. Though the damage was minimal, the attack forced the alien vessel to change course, turning its attention away from Lisa's incoming fleet. Supreme Commander Gruztul ordered immediate retaliation. The flagship's main cannon prepared to fire, its energy buildup visible as a growing purple glow. Kevin knew they had only one option left. Set collision course, full thrust. The defense station's engines flared to maximum power, driving the human vessel directly toward the Zorlak flagship. Gruztul, recognizing the suicide tactic too late, ordered evasive maneuvers. The flagship began to turn, but its massive size made it slow to respond. The impact was catastrophic for both vessels. The defense station, its reactors deliberately set to overload, struck the flagship near its command section. The resulting explosion tore through the alien vessel's shields and hull, reaching its power core. From her approaching ship, Lisa Morgan watched as both vessels erupted in a ball of light that briefly outshone the sun. There would be no survivors, but Kevin Barnes and his crew had given their lives to save the mission. More importantly, they had eliminated Supreme Commander Gruztul and the Zorlak High Command. Send word to Colonel Daniels, Lisa ordered, her voice thick with emotion. Operation Turning Point is a go. 1 year after the Zorlak first appeared near Neptune, General Jeff Daniels stood in the ruins of the United Nations headquarters in New York. The once grand building was now a skeleton of its former self, but it remained an important symbol. Representatives from nations across Earth had gathered here for the first meeting of the Terran Defense Council. Jeff looked out at the assembled leaders. Some wore military uniforms, others civilian clothes. All showed signs of the difficult year they had endured, scars, tired eyes, and an unmistakable hardness that came from fighting for survival. 1 year ago, Jeff began, his voice carrying across the makeshift assembly hall, humanity faced extinction. The Zorlak Imperium, which had conquered a dozen worlds before ours, arrived with technology far beyond our own. They expected us to surrender or die. They did not expect us to win. A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd. The path to victory had been neither quick nor easy. After Operation Turning Point, the coordinated global attack that coincided with the destruction of the Zorlak flagship, the war had continued for another 5 months of brutal fighting. Paul Johnson's quantum disruption system had worked, better than anyone dared hope. When activated, it had thrown the entire Zorlak command structure into chaos. With their communications network compromised and their supreme commander dead, the alien forces had lost their greatest advantage: coordination. Captain Lisa Morgan's fleet, equipped with Ardari technology, had struck key Zorlak orbital positions. Meanwhile, resistance forces worldwide had attacked alien strongholds on the ground. The human victory hadn't come in a single battle, but through thousands of smaller ones, fought street by street, city by city. 2 days ago, Jeff continued, the last Zorlak ships retreated beyond Neptune's orbit. Their remaining commander has requested terms for peace. This news brought both cheers and skeptical murmurs. After everything humanity had suffered, many found it hard to believe the war might truly be over. Dr. Samantha Wright stood at the back of the assembly. The past year had aged her beyond the mere passing of time. Her research into Zorlak biology had provided crucial advantages, but it had also revealed truths about the aliens that she was still processing. The terms are straightforward, Jeff explained. The Zorlak will establish a demilitarized zone at the edge of our solar system. They will not enter our space without permission, and we will not venture into theirs. We've established communication, beacons to maintain diplomatic contact. A woman stood from the front row. And we trust them to honor this agreement? After everything they've done? Jeff nodded to Lisa Morgan, who took his place at the podium. Her uniform bore the new insignia of the Terran Defense Fleet. The Zorlak respect strength above all else, Lisa explained. We've demonstrated ours. More importantly, we now have allies. She gestured to an alien figure standing nearby, an Ardari diplomat, one of several who had come to Earth after the Zorlak retreat. The balance of power has shifted. The Imperium can no longer afford to fight us. Sam moved forward then, joining Lisa at the podium. There's something else you should all understand about the Zorlak. My research revealed why they were vulnerable to our tactics in ways they never anticipated. She activated a display screen showing comparative DNA structures. The Zorlak evolved along a completely different path than humans. Their biology is specialized, efficient, and in many ways superior to ours. But it lacks something crucial: adaptability. Sam explained how Zorlak society functioned through rigid hierarchy and specialized roles. Their evolution had favored consistency and predictability. Faced with humanity's constantly changing tactics, their inability to quickly adapt had become a fatal flaw. What truly shocked them, Sam concluded, was not just that we fought back, but how we fought back. Our creativity, our willingness to sacrifice for others, our ability to cooperate across different cultures and nations, these were qualities the Zorlak evolutionary path never developed. They couldn't understand why humans would die to save others with no genetic relation. This concept was alien to them in the truest sense. As the assembly digested this information, a communications officer approached Jeff with an urgent message. He read it quickly, then returned to the podium. I've just received word from our deep space monitoring stations. The Zorlak weren't the only ones watching our conflict. Ships from 3 previously unknown species have entered the outer solar system. They're requesting permission to send diplomatic envoys to Earth. Lisa wasn't surprised. The Ardari had warned her this might happen. News of our victory has spread across the galaxy, she explained. For centuries, the Zorlak Imperium has been feared as unbeatable. What we've done here has changed the power balance among all spacefaring civilizations. In the months that followed, Earth began the long process of rebuilding. The war had taken a terrible toll. Over 1 billion human lives lost, major cities destroyed, ecosystems damaged by alien mining operations. Yet amid the destruction, a new sense of unity had emerged. Old national conflicts seemed petty compared to the challenge humanity had faced together. The Noah's Ark mission returned from Mars, bringing back the scientists and leaders who had been sent as humanity's insurance policy. They found an Earth forever changed, but also one with new opportunities. The technologies gained from the Zorlak and Ardari accelerated human development by decades. Captain Lisa Morgan, now Admiral Morgan, prepared for her first official diplomatic mission beyond the solar system. Her ship, Earth's first purpose-built, interstellar vessel, would carry representatives to the Ardari homeworld to formalize their alliance. Before departure, she visited the memorial that had been built where the old United Nations once stood. The names of those lost in the war covered its walls, too numerous to count. Among them were Kevin Barnes and his crew, Alan Carter and the Lunar Colony team, and countless resistance fighters including Rita Wilson and many of Paul Johnson's Montana group. Paul himself had survived and now led Earth's new quantum communications division. His work with Zorlak technology had opened new possibilities for human expansion throughout the solar system. As Lisa touched the memorial wall, she remembered her crew from the USS Defiant, the first casualties in a war no one had expected to win. "We didn't just survive," she whispered, echoing Jeff's words from a private conversation they'd shared after the victory. "We changed the course of galactic history." Behind her, Earth continued its recovery. Construction crews worked to rebuild cities. Farms were being replanted. Children, who had spent months hiding in shelters, now played openly under blue skies no longer threatened by alien ships. The war had revealed humanity's greatest strength, not in technology or weapons, but in something the Zorlak could never understand. The unbreakable human spirit that grew stronger, not weaker, when faced with impossible odds. As Lisa boarded her ship for its historic journey, the message sent to other worlds was clear. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through courage, sacrifice, and the determination to remain free. The impossible had become possible, and the future, once so dark, now shone with new hope.